looking at some of the options available with management reporting in KEYPrime. My name is James and I work on the training sides. I know some of the faces that are in front of me, but there's an awful lot of you, so I haven't got everybody's face and not everybody's got a camera on, but that's great. I've got joining me and Asif from our support and training team. So thank you, Asif. Super. Asif is going to be monitoring the chat. Because there are so many of you, please do ask questions, but if you could ask them via the chat, then we'll stop at each point and see if there are any questions and endeavour to answer them. So let me, without further ado, yeah, so what else have we got? So we're going to do that. It's going to last about 45 minutes, I'm guessing. It really depends whether I rattle through it or you ask me loads of questions. So it'll take us that. We've got people on intro, we've got people on key accounts, and we've got people on key advanced. And a lot of the options that we're going to go and have a look at are actually available to all of you. However, as we move on, some of those options for intro users will become less, and the same for the accounts users. We will be able to have a little look at hopefully all areas and yeah, we'll crack on. So let me just share my screen and move that over there. Is that shared, Asif?
Not yet.
Not yet. The joys of technology. Has it come up yet?
No, not for me yet.
Okay, let me stop it. Let me start it and try again.
Yes.
Everybody see my screen? Can you give me a nod? Oh, that's good. Just checking that the caffeine's working this morning, and that's marvelous. Super. We've got a couple of hands up already from, no, they've disappeared or gone up, so we've got, that's fine. So let's just crack on. So yeah, questions, please stop me, Asif, and we'll endeavour to answer them. So we're going to have a look at management reports. So let's just go and open up one of the companies. So under KEYPrime intro, we've got management, and we've got here 4 options. Now, back in, I think it was February, March time, we held some webinars on budgeting. So I'm not going to cover that today, but we are going to look at cash flow, income and expenditure and enterprise reporting. And for those of you that are on standard or key accounts, this is demo standard. Under the management, you've got a few more options here. So we'll have a look at the analysis option, projected and favorites. And then finally, for those of you that have got advanced, you get a few more options in the custom reports. Now, to stop me flicking from one to the other, I'm just going to stick with this one because it gives me all of the options. But as I say, for the intro user and the accounts user, a lot of the options that we're going to look at the start are identical. There is no difference. So where do we start? Well, we've got these, and I'll have a look at this, these options available to you here. And we go off to cash flow, but before we even go here, a couple of things that are before you go reporting. please, please, please go to utilities. And I'm sure under the current month, you go and change this each month. So down the bottom right-hand side of my screen is a thing called the current month. And there it is, and you change it. Now, what does it do? Well, when we go to our report, it changes this to date. So some of you will have run year ends and you get really annoyed with the fact that actually the there is 1 month, it's the end of, you only get a report for 1 month. So that's where to change this default date here. Now, some of the others of you will have left your year end open, but you're wanting to report on the new year. So this date here will default to your financial year start date here. Okay, and it will do exactly that, but actually you're 12 months on and you haven't run your year end for whatever reason, and you want to be reporting on the new year. Well, up under here, up and through the keyhole, we've got report preferences. And here it is. And not only can you set the screen to fill up, fill the screen, zoom in or out, change the font, change the margins, but down here is the from date. So if you have left your year end open, but you're wanting to run all your reports for the new year, go and change the from date. And the last one, whilst we're here, if you want a nice little logo on the top right-hand side of your reports, browse somewhere, find the logo, and that will put it on the top of all of your reports. Lastly, we were up under utilities for the current month. Please, when you do a current month, just go and verify. That's just an internal check of the data. But again, it can fix a few things. It can give you a few warnings. And it may be that, oh, bother, yes, I went and edited a bank statement last month and I've forgotten to actually save it. It's still postponed. It will pick up on that sort of thing. Okay. So we've done all of that. Where to next? Well, I'm going to start with the cash flow because that's one of the most common ones here. And let me just double click. So again, if you double click on your menu, it will hold it open or it will close it up. I'm only closing it up to make my screen bigger for you guys, so hopefully you can see it. Now, if I had gone to income and expenditure, I would get exactly the same option. There you are. You can see it's exactly the same options. And again, the profit and loss and enterprise and analysis code reports are all exactly the same. So let's have a look at some of these options that are available to you here, because as we go down through some of these, you get some other buttons here, and that may be therefore that you'll find the report that you're looking for. So down the left-hand side here, yes, we've got type, and we'll go and have a look at some of these in a minute. Over on the right-hand side, we've got by group and by nominal, and we'll have a look at that. The date range is fairly obvious. It's for that period. And then it show actuals, budget, could be last year, and we've got some options. And because we're on a cash flow here, we can actually come down here and we have the ability to select an individual bank account, 3 or 4 bank accounts, or a combination of whatever you want to do. By default, it will report on all of them. So let's just start with our type at the top. We've got monthly and we've got by nominal and by group, and we're just going to go OK and see what it then does. So the first time it might take a few seconds, just loading the management report engine, and up comes the report. Here it comes. And so here it's got monthly exactly for our date range. So it's going to be to the from January through to August, 8 months going across there, with our nominals down here by group. So our headline group, sales, purchases, etc. And then if you have subgrouped your nominals, you will have a subgroup here. So under arable income, we've got our nominals there, and then a total, livestock income and a total there, and dairy income, etc. And then our purchases are the same. These are set up under the nominals here. So if you do need the group, and you've got groups on this side, and you can go and change the order of them so that some of you I know will have imported nominals into the system, and the groups will be in alphabetical order, which is not what you want. So that's where to go and change them under nominal, groups over here, and go and edit and change your grouping. So that's by nominal. Let's just deal with the easy one and choose the by group option. So here we're running exactly the same report, but we get, I don't know whether you saw, we had 6 pages of report earlier. We've now got just the 2. So it's more the headline of each one, and we've got our group here. So this is what I liken to the accountant's report, the bank manager's report, or what have you. It's the headline figures. And I'll often say to people, when you go and run a cash flow, you might want to do a grouped one as well as a nominal one, because for some people, the nominal one will be a lot of pages long, and they never go and look at, page 12 or whatever it is with the important bit. If you've got it summarized and they don't like it and they're wondering what's going on, you still have, as per all the management reports, the option to drill down, and it will take you to that, and it will expand it, and you'll get all the transactions, and you can still go and drill down to that and go and look at it and edit it and do whatever you need to do to it. So all of that is still available, but this is a grouped report. So it's like a summary report grouped on the nominals in here to give you those totals. And because it's monthly, we've got our months, and then we've got our grand total on the right hand side. And we've got a blank space in here because we've got our 4 months still to go. It'll be landscape because we can't fit it on an A4 piece of paper portrait. Far too many columns involved. So that's that report there. We'll just go back to nominal because that helps us. Now, down the bottom here, we've got some different options. So we've got monthly, and we can report just for our budget only if we've got a budget, or we can compare our actuals with a budget. And if you aren't budgeting, no problem, you will have last year down in your drop down, provided you've been going more than 12 months. So if we just have a look at that one, we will see that coming up, we will have each of the columns has got actual and last year, or could be the budget in there. But because we've got these extra columns, we've got the first 6 months on this report with the totals there. And our report now has gone up to 13 pages because we've got all this information here. So you would have to scroll down to the pages further down to get the next 6 months on the report. So you can't actually fit all of that on one page. There just aren't enough columns available to you. So monthly, when you're comparing against something, just be aware that you can't get all 12 columns in on the one report by using the OK option. Quarterly, what does quarterly do? Well, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's going to say my first quarter is starting from January the first here. So it's going to be January, February, March is my first quarter, and so on. So quarterly is going to give each of these quarters. We haven't done actual only here. We've got comparisons, which is fine. So here is my first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter. And it may be that this is a part quarter. Just be careful of your date range. But here it does exactly what it says. The first quarter for the period will be January, February, March. Then we've got April, May, June, and then July and August in here. But it's giving you the total for that report over here, as well as your last year's total there. So you've got the comparison on that report. Now, so that one's there. We've then got the annual. And again, we can have that actual only, budget only, by group, nominal. So our choices are similar there. And we can go OK. So it's just going to give us one total for this date range from January to August. There's our one total. There's our last year, but now we've got a difference column so that we can see that we are 17,000 down on our wheat. Is that timing? Did we not have the crop? Whatever it is. And again, there's the barley up. So on our difference column, it'll be minus and red if it's bad news because we are less than the last year, or black and positive if you are better than last year. So you've got the color coding there, and last year is always in green. So that's the annual one there. But when we come into annual, and I'm just going to go back because I don't have the budget information for this other option here, is multi-year. So if you go back in time, and I haven't got good enough data, but I'm sure lots of you have this multi-year option. It will do it if your budget spreads the same period of time. But for most people, this is quite a good report when going budgeting, because you will get each of your years that you have got here. As I say, I haven't got good enough data for this, but here is your previous years, and therefore you can start to see some of the trends in your business. Maybe the machinery repairs, well, we haven't got to the year end, or we've started leasing them and that's brought the repairs down. Whatever it might be, but it's quite useful for seeing trends in the business, especially when thinking about budgeting. Okay. Any questions so far, Asif?
James, there's one. There seems to be a bit of a lag, a 5-second lag. I'm not sure what we can do about it, but there did seem to be a bit of a lag
between speaking and the screen, or
yeah,
I'm not sure why or what we can do. Okay. I will be mindful of. So what you want me to do is slow down with me moving on the screen, or speed up that bit and slow down the commentary. I'll endeavour to do my best.
Okay.
So let me just put that back. Okay, so that's our annual. We've then got the progress. Now the progress brings in a lot more options down here, and it's a report we all quite like within Landmark. And with progress, you have to choose the option of your budget, and if you choose budget, you'll get even more options. Last year you just get that one there, so we'll have a look at the other options in a minute. So let me click OK, and whilst that report's coming up, so this is progress. So we've done this report for the January to August figures. And here we've now got August actual figures against August last year and this difference column again. So last year, as we said, will always be green and the budget always blue. And the difference, black is always good news and red is bad news. So there we can see that we had straw sales last year of 235 and we haven't got any this year, so we are down. And actually we haven't got any for the year to date. So that can be quite a nice report on seeing those differences clearly, easily, when running this report. So how have I done for the month and how am I doing up to year-to-date figures, so to the end of August. We'll also have a look at that now with the budget. So if we do that, what we will find is that the budget figure comes up in blue and we've now got an extra column on the right-hand side. So the progress when we're doing it by budget is the same as the year to date, but now we've got a total budget for the 12-month period starting from January, so that we can see that we are down on our wheat, but that's, you know, is it timing, is it crop or what have you, because that's what we put in the budget to have as at the end of the 12-month period. So as at the end of December, are we actually going to get there? We can see that quickly and clearly. Now, for some people, they don't like the difference as a monetary figure. They want to show it as a percentage. So a couple of years ago, I think it was, we introduced the show the difference as a percentage option. So here you can see on this report, hopefully come up for you now, is the fact that, you know, we are 23% down on our budgeted figure. We're 71% up on our sales here. So if you want it as a percentage difference, it's tick that box down here, show percentage difference, and you will get that as in there. What else have we got on here? Well, not only can we have the budget, because you've all been off and doing budgets, but we can also show last year on here. So not only can we have the same style of report on here, getting a bit busier, getting running out of room on an A4 sheet of paper, but here it is. So we've actually got our cash flow, again, same date range progress. So we've got our August actuals budget, and now we've got last year. And we've got our to-date actual budget and last year. And then these two columns here are the budget difference. So the difference between these two columns is here. And then the last year difference is saying the difference between this figure here and the actual there. So it's the year-to-date figures that have got the differences coming through there. And then we've got our total budget still on the right-hand side. So that makes it good and useful for us to be able to do all of that. How are we doing? I see if you've got your hand up.
Sorry, no.
That's fine. I'm just checking. No problem. So the last year one is there. One of the other options, and we've got that elsewhere as well, is show projected. Now be just a little careful and a little here. So we've got exactly the same report that we had a couple of screenshots ago. We've got our cash flow and we've got our August actuals budget difference. And we've got our to-date actual budget difference, no problem. And we've got our total budget. What we've got by putting the tick in that one is we've got the projected total. So what this is saying is for this date range here, from January to the end of August, take the actuals and then go and add on, we've got September, October, November, December's figures in our budget, and go and add those figures onto this actual and give us a projected total. So we can see there, we had a total budget in there up to this period or what have you, and actually with our actuals and our timing, we're only going to achieve that. Or it could be that when we come further down to our repairs or what have you, we can see that we're going to over or underspend compared to what we said we were going to budget on. So the important thing when looking at the projected total is timings. Because if you budgeted for the BPS to come in January and it actually came in December, you could, and you ran the report up to December and it wasn't a January year start, or maybe it is, you can actually have twice the amount in the projected total or nothing in the projected total. So just be mindful when running the projected that you may need to think about it in terms of timing. Okay, what else have we got? Well, for those of you that like quarterly, and some businesses run quarterly rather than monthly reports, you can have the quarterly progress. So I'll just take the tick out of that one to keep it simple. So what that's saying is actually it'll do a quarter here. So it's the third quarter starting July. Here is our quarter and our quarter budget and the differences, and then we've still got our year to date and our total budget on the right hand side. So yes, quarterly progress available as well as looking at each month. And some people like quarterly because it takes some of the peaks and troughs out. Some people have just traditionally done it that way. There is no right or wrong way. Okay. The other one which we have got here is going back to our monthly, and I was trying to sort of, when I did some notes for this, think about the best way of doing it, and it was a little bit jumping all around the place. Just going to go for actuals at the moment. Again, keep it simple. For those of you that are using quantities and want to see quantities, you've done the hard work on your data inputting in selling the number of tons of wheat or the number of loads of logs or whatever it might be, wood chip or whatever. You can actually have those quantities, and again, via cash flow, P&L, income and expenditure, we'll have a look at all of those. So these are the quantities. So these are the monthly quantities, could be litres of milk, could be shop sales, could be, I want to know admissions into the house because it's let out, or open to the public when we're allowed, and you want the number of people being admitted each month. But just again, yep.
We've got a hand up from Fran.
Okay. Go, Fran. You'll have to unmute yourself or type in the chat the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I wondered why that defaulted to quarter 3 when you asked for the quarterly report. Against in the last explanation you were going through. Yeah.
So, yeah, because August is in quarter 3.
Right.
From January. So January, February, March will be quarter 1 because that's my start date of the report.
So if I wanted the first quarter, I would have to change that 31st of August date to 31st of March.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And that will then give you that quarter.
Okay. So it chooses the last quarter from the last date that you've shown.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Super. So we were looking at monthly there, and we said we could show quantity. We can also show quantity here on our progress report, so that if we're after quantities and how we're doing, well, let's go and have a look at it. So we can have the budget in here, etc. So here are our August value and our quantity and our price per unit, as opposed to our August budget value, quantity per unit. And then we've got our year-to-date total value, quantity per unit, and our budget. If you budgeted per quantity, you'd have that in there as well. So that can be quite useful in seeing that actually I've only got my cattle are coming in at 351 and I budgeted them for 490. So that's what although monetary wise, I might be down or up or what have you, actually for the month, the price we're getting is not as good as anticipated. So that's a report that can be quite useful there. Okay, what else have we got? We've got quantity reporting. So how does this differ? Well, this quantity reporting is going to look at our figures, and here it comes, and it's just going to give you a simple annual for the date range that you've got, and there's your quantity, your actual, your average price, quantity, budget, and actual average price there. So just another way of displaying it. You've also got with the quantity a progress report. So what does this one do? Well, this is a slightly different one, and this one we don't often see clients use, but could be useful. So it's showing here for our actual and our budget, we've still got our differences, but we've got an extra line for each nominal. So we've got the monetary amount on the top, and then we've got the quantity in tons underneath. So you've got all the information there on both lines. So yeah, it's there. Most people don't use it because they're not aware that it can do it. But there it is. As I say, you've got the monetary values, you've got the quantity, actual budget difference, etc., and the quantity that was budgeted for the 12-month period. So it's all there. It's just laid out, but because it's one line underneath the rest, it is a much longer report. You've in effect doubled the length of the report. So that's sometimes good news, sometimes bad news. The variance report, and I've just got to check on here, management, cash flow, get variance. I can't remember whether intro gets it before I, yes, they do. Super. So the variance report is available too. So everything I've shown you so far is available to all. We'll go back to this one, the variance report. Now this can be quite a long report. Well, it is a long report. It's just doing this, and you can actually have the percentage variance. So let's just click OK and it'll come up. So what this is showing is you'll have each nominal on the left-hand side. Then you have the budgeted figure. Then you have the actual figure. Then you have the variance, so the difference between the two. So here we can see for our barley, we had that and we're positive by that amount. And because I put a tick in the percentage variance, you can see that it's 114% of our budget. Now, because we've got each nominal listed here, I can't remember how long our other progress report was for these options, but we were probably running at 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. Because we've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, effectively 5 lines, because we've got a header, we're now up to 27 pages of report. So it is a long report, but you do get each month and the differences going along there. So it's just a further option for you. The last one on here that I haven't ticked is include budget notes. So if you had got budget notes, and I'll just choose a shorter report, you can go and it will actually print a separate report with budget notes. Here you are. If you have put budgeted within KeyPrime and you have put notes on why you're doing what you're doing, then it will print those out on a separate page. So that's what the include. So there's the actual report. So include budget notes there. So those are all the options available with the cash flow. And we've seen lots of different reports there and different styles of reports. So up under management, again, income and expenditure, you get identical. So once we've been through all of those reports, you get exactly the same options. You get your monthly, quarterly, etc. You get your groups, your date range, and then these options that we've just had a look at available here. For the accounts and advanced users, you will also get a profit and loss, and again, identical options on this selection. So no different there on your selection. It's just that intro users can't run a P&L. What else have we got? Well, let's go and have a look at enterprises, because I know a lot of you are running enterprise reports. So here we've got our enterprises, and we can go off and we can say, right, we want to look at whatever it is, our rental income or our sheep. And so first of all, we need to make our selection of the enterprise. We've got a few options down the left-hand side, and depending on what version you've got depends on whether you get all of those or just a few of those. The next important thing is to say, are we doing this on a trade, i.e. an invoice basis, or are we doing it on the cash basis? So the day that it hits our bank account. So we go OK. And then lo and behold, we get exactly the same. So we can go monthly and we get exactly the same options here. The only difference here is for the advanced users, they get this option 1 here for nominal and enterprise. So if I just show them quickly that one, and we go nominal and enterprise, what it's saying is that for each nominal, so here's my livestock costs and my feed purchases, I get a separate line for my cattle and my sheep. So that's what a key advanced user has the ability to do that. So what else have we got here? Well, let's just go back a stage. And let's go to our enterprise and our cattle enterprise and edit that. If you have put for the enterprise a unit and a number of units, and you might have your number of your budget units as a different one, and it could be, you know, it could be rental, could be the number of square feet, it could be tons sold, it could be hectares grown or what have you. So the first thing under the enterprise there is to go and do that. And then under our enterprise report, we come back to our cattle and we click OK. And this only works with the progress. And It's fine. We've got nominal, very simple. We haven't got lots of ticks in all the other places. We're just running the standard report. What you get here is it says cattle and then it says 25/40. And what you get are two different columns over this right hand side where it is dividing this total here by the number that you've got here. So here we can see that we've got a vet and med cost of £5.29, and we budgeted on, because we budgeted for 40 head, of £8.33 per head or per ton or whatever it is. So when you do it with an enterprise, if you put on the quantity actually on the enterprise ledger and you need to put in a unit type, then you will get these two extra columns here that will be divisors into your year-to-date figures. So that can be quite useful when looking at stuff. One of the other options here that everybody has got, we can do comparison reports. So we can click on comparison, click OK, and we get less of a selection, but we can look at also the unselected enterprises or transactions that haven't been allocated to an enterprise. And again, we can look at our projected, but we're just going to look at this. So there is my cattle compared to my sheep and a grand total for the two. So that effectively could be our livestock enterprise on the right hand side, but we're looking at cattle and sheep, or it could be that you've got 3 different cattle centres or different, you've broken your residential rents away from your commercial. You could have a look at each of these enterprises, as I say, comparing them side by side and a grand total on the right hand side. So you've got them all, you've got the regular wages, and you've got the margin that each one of them's bringing in. So that's available too, and that one's called the comparison one. If you wanted them joined up and what have you, and this is only available in advanced, we do an amalgamated option, and you then get back to these options here, and it will actually add the two together. So effectively, this is your livestock. It is the two enterprises added together, and that's available in the advanced package. Another option, whilst we're on enterprise, is the summary option. And again, which do we want it on, invoice based, or do we want it on cash flow? We get our option here, but what this does is give us a margin for each of these enterprises. So it summarizes our margins at the top, and then it lists all the unallocated transactions, which maybe you haven't got an enterprise for your overheads. So you would see the contribution of each of your enterprises at the top, and then your other income and other costs coming down here to give you your income and expenditure P&L cash flow. So it's just another option available there. And the projected does what it says. You can look at that, and it will then look at, if we look at it for this date range, no problem. Here comes the report. So what we've got here with the projected enterprise cash flow is saying these are my actuals for the first 8 months because we've run it to that date. And then actually I want to look in more detail than I was before. I don't just want the projected total. I want the to see what each month is happening, because might need to adjust the figures for timing. And then the original budget is also there so that you can see whether, how far out you were or what's going to be happening there. So that is the projected enterprise report there. Now, for the accounts and advanced users, you also can have a projected option here. So this is at a company level, and you can do exactly the same thing. So not only can you do it by enterprise, but when this one comes up, here it comes. We have the option here. So this is at a company level to look at exactly the same. So we can, as I say, have it by enterprise, or in this case, it's at a company level and see exactly what we've done, what we think we're going to do for the next, and therefore what the projected total will be. But as I say, just be mindful of timings with that one. For accounts and advanced users, you also have analysis code reporting in the same style. So we can take, again, we can have it individually amalgamated or projected. So amalgamated is for the advanced users. We make our selection just as we did by enterprise, and then lo and behold, we've got exactly the same selection. I don't think I've got a budget on here or good enough data, but we'll run it just so that you get the idea. So that you can then have, if you budgeted by analysis code, you'd have your actuals, your budget, your difference, your year-to-date actual budget and difference. So that is also available. Okay. We got any questions, Asif? No? Okay. None at the moment. Right. Let's get the notes sorted. Going back a stage, another useful one can be down the bottom when we're on the monthly, and we said we wanted to compare this one, and we haven't got enough pages across, enough columns across the page, because it puts the first 6 months over the top. We've got 12 columns there, one for each month and plus the budget, so we can only get 6 months. One of the ways around that, and all of the management reports, where possible, we've got the option to throw the information out to Excel. So, maybe. Wasn't expecting that. I might have broken it. Let's go try it in another company. So what happens if you use this Excel? And I might need to just close it down and no, here it comes. So when we do that, we actually get all of the columns going across, and you'll get, if I chosen budget or year to date, you would get all of those so that you can then resize it, or you can go and print it on A3 paper or whatever you want to do. The other advantage of this Excel is that if I go and say, actually, I've forgotten about, and we should have accounted for, or what have you, another £20,000 worth of barley in that month, the formulas here all work. So they work going across there and they work going down here. So that if you do need to tweak anything, or actually say that that should have been less and I should have put, because I forgot, I put, 5 grand's worth of straw sales because it was wheat straw in the wrong nominal, you could go and change that and all the formulas would work, and it would scroll down, and right at the bottom of the report, you would then get your banks, and it, it would go and down here, because that is the bank, and down here you would then get all the formula are across that. So the Excel option can be very useful in terms of doing that. So there it is on cash flow. If we go to Enterprise, you'll have noted that when we click OK here, we've got our Excel button there. So it's about. The other new one that is on here, and we've got a Smart View button up here. Now this Smart View button, if I go and run it, will run it from the financial year start to the current month, going for and comparing it to your master budget. So you click on it and it goes and runs it, and in a second it'll come up. Here it is. Just the first time it's run. So there we've got the budget and we've got our overdraft limit. So it's a graphing tool is Smart View. We've got your actuals, and as you can see, I hover over the things, you can see what they are. We've got your last year and we've got the overdraft limit. We've then down the bottom got your sales by month and your expenditure. We can also go and look at this at a nominal level, and we can double click and drill down. There's our sales breakdown, but actually we want to look at our arable income, and here it is graphed as well. So we can use this arrow to we can either export, or we can use this arrow to go back to where we were, and we can also look at it at an enterprise and an analysis code level too. Now, if you're after Smart View, that's fine, that's that one there. So what's the difference between this one here? Well, let me just go and change the date. This will now respect whatever date range you've got here and what you've chosen here. So if you go next year, but you can actually choose a different budget from your master budget, and up it comes, and here are the figures. So the Smart View at the top there is the cash flow only, and it's using your financial year start date and your current month and your master budget. However, when you're in cash flow, or for those of you that are in accounts or advanced, you have the option for profit and loss. You've also got Smart View for profit and loss as well, but you do need to choose monthly in order for it to work. If you start choosing annual or others, that button will disappear. So the question that often comes from that is, how do you get the overdraft limit on? So here you go and edit your bank, and we have an overdraft button down the bottom here. So we click on overdraft, and then you can key in whatever the overdraft is. In this case, it's the same for the whole year, but if you've got a variable rate, you can go and put in the overdraft amount here, and then that will graph against on Smart View, and it will also warn you, for those of you using what to pay and things like that, that the payment run is going to take you over your overdraft limit.
James, I've just got a couple of questions from a couple of guests.
Yeah.
And the first one is from Neil Cameron, and it is, as a default, I think when you run an annual progress report, it shows one column for the last month and then the annual. How do you get just the annual report, not showing the monthly?
So if you run the progress, you'll get the, I think the question is here, you'll get you get your year to date, you will get at your year end, you will still get the last month there. Whereas if you go and run an annual report, it gets rid of the month or what have you, you'll just get annual budget and difference. I don't know if that's answered the question.
Yeah, I think that answers it. Thank you.
Okay.
Brilliant.
So
And
sometimes you want to clean a report at the year end. You just want actuals and budget rather than having that last month in there. Yeah. Okay, Asif, next one.
And the other question is from Andrew. Our year end is mid-month, 11th of November. Can we run cash flow and budgets using this data?
You can, but you need to be careful and mindful. It's not easy. The budget figure will be from the first of the month. So that's not so easy. So I've got to remember, and Asif, can you just take a note of who it is? There,
Andrew.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Because and I can't remember which report it is, but on the monthly, you'd run it from the 11th of the month. You'd have 11th to the 31st being January, and you wouldn't have a budget figure. I think it's either the quarterly or the progress quarterly that it will do it for. It will take that budget for the first period and it sorts it all out. But I can't remember off the top of my head exactly which one combination it is. But one or two of the reports it will work, but all the rest it won't.
Right.
Any other questions, Asif? Because I see we're about on time. I was just going to finish because I think it's let's go into intro and just check.
None at the moment. None at the moment. I'm just.
So not in intro, James. In standard, there is under management and analysis, there is no comparison option. It is actually in here. I'm not sure of the data. And if you go summary, so you've got some other options available here. If you use on the ledger analysis ledger, you still can have a comparison report and a total for it, but it's called summary under the analysis code ledger. So it's still available. It just happens to be in a slightly different place for other different reasons.
James, I've got another question from Neil. With Smart View, how do you swap from cash flow to P&L?
Okay. So the button at the top here, that one is cash flow only. As we said, it's restricted to the dates, etc. The moment you go to profit and loss and you choose monthly, that Smart View will be profit and loss. So when I click on that one, I don't have an overdraft limit because it's not cash, it's profit and loss. Whereas when I go to my cash flow and I go monthly, that Smart View is, so if you select under here what type of report you want, then you will get the Smart View option when you're on monthly for either cash flow or profit and loss. Okay, thumbs up, good. Any other questions or queries on options for management reporting? I'm not sure having them all on mute's good or bad. I can't hear yes or no's or what have you, but it's quiet.
Nothing's coming through, so I'm hoping that's good.
Okay. If there aren't any further questions, lastly, on behalf of ASSI from myself, thank you all very much for attending. We have recorded it, and if anybody wants a copy or what have you, then that's not a problem. And yeah, hopefully we've given you some pointers. Is some of the options available to you within KeyPrime. For advanced users, there is more like custom reports and things like that. But I think it was just, it's something we get asked quite a lot on, how can I do this? Can it do that? And we keep saying, yes, you've put the hard work in, but actually it's having that hour this morning to go and click on all those buttons and find out what they do and see if any of them are useful to you at all. So thank you all very much. Yeah.
Just before you go, we've had one quick question come through. Renata's just saying, is it possible to quickly go through the favourites?
Quickly, yes. Okay, which is good. So favourites is this button here, and we put in here 10 potential favourites for you. Don't have to stick with them, you can delete them, you can change them, do whatever. There are two options with favourites. You can either go new and find your report, so you could say actually it's a management one and it's a cash flow, and save it. There it is. We then need to give it options. So we then need to define what options we want to give it and that side of things. And if it was me, I would rename it that it is the bank manager's cash flow or whatever it might be. And you can see here we've got some month-end reports and some year-end reports, and you can then make your selection and go and preview them. But there is a different way, and a way that I find much easier is you'll have been playing, or you'll go off now and play with your reports, and you'll say, actually, was it that progress, and was it this one, and boom, 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 and you go and click OK. So it runs the report, and then you go, marvelous, but I've got to try and repeat that every month. Well, there's a little shortcut up the top here. So we've got your print, your export, your refresh, and there's this one star here. And so we can then put that this is James's favorite and go save. So now when I come back to my favorites, which is intro, don't get this, it's accounts and advanced, there's my report. So I can preview it for the date range. So every time, we'll each month it'll move on a month, and click OK, and I will get exactly the same report in the same way every single time that I might need to email to the bank manager or whoever it might be. So management favorites is a really good way of maybe you're a farm secretary and the boss needs to get on here. Maybe you'll set him up as read only and set all his reports up in favorites. Then he doesn't need to go and understand elsewhere in the program. You've just got one place, quick and easy, make that selection and go preview. For those of you that are on Key Advanced, you actually have a report library, so you can actually put all of these reports into a report book. It wraps them up as a PDF with an index page. So for the trustees, for the board of directors, for the partners monthly meeting or whatever it is, you can end up with a report pack that is identical every single time with the reports all laid out for you. Just a quick and easy way. It can be reminders. Some of you will be bookkeeping in various places and you struggle to remember, now this particular person, he likes his reports in this layout rather than that layout. Well, stick them in favorites and then you can replicate them each time. Any other questions, Asif? because they've all
There's a
had
couple
now.
of things that have come out. I've just had one that's saying, are you thinking of stopping key accounts?
No, definitely not. I'm not quite sure.
I know, seems. And the other question, quick question, is how do you select which bank account for the cash flow reports?
Okay, good question. So the first question was, are we looking to stop? No. KEYPrime, we've just released version 10. We're working on 10.5 for this autumn release. We are working on that hard. We're looking at other things that we can do. We are investigating web options and things like that. So we're not standing still. We have the backing of our parent company in France who are looking to push on and keep developing the software. So that's most definitely the case.
She just replied, great. So that's great.
Good. No, it's got a lot of legs in it yet. It might have slightly different interfaces in time and things like that, but hey, we know roughly what we want to do and where we want to go, and it's move it forward and keep going. Cash flow. So here, cash flow. Got a little button, blue button down the bottom for the bank. So that's where you can go and select your bank or banks. Let me dive into the other company because I've got more in that one. So here we've got bank. So you could say, I just want those two. Or you could say, I just want that bank account. I want to ignore the other bank account that I'm running. So down the bottom here, and if you select that and I go, okay, I just want whatever it is, what we spent on the credit card, it'll go red to denote to you that there is a selection, so that you can then see that there is a selection. If I come back and I go none, it'll then go back blue because that's the default when it comes to it.
Brilliant.
Anything else?
No, I'm just getting a lot of thank yous. So I think
Great. Well, if not, thank you all for attending. I hope you found it worthwhile and picked up a few hints and tips along the way. It's, you know, to have to sit there, listen to me and pressing all the buttons, half of which probably aren't relevant. But I think sometimes it's just knowing that it's got that capability that actually, if somebody wants a quantity report, it's available to you, and different guises of report as businesses diversify, as pressure on businesses increases, etc. It's just nice to know that a lot of the reports are there at the hit of a button. So thank you all very much.
thank you.